forget you, Barbara.
Ever played in the cat?
Someone's in the back seat! Tell me where you are, John!
Wolfman's got Nards!
Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. They have confirmed that there's going to be a secret cameo character returning in Scream 6 that was in a previous Scream movie. Now we don't know which Scream movie they're talking about, we don't know how big of a role they're going to get, and we also don't know if it is a surviving character or if it's going to be footage from previous films that will feature this character being dead. There's no confirmation about that yet. But in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you 10 characters that I think could potentially be this cameo character. Now, out of the 10 characters that I've chosen, none of them have died. So they're confirmed to be still alive in the Scream franchise. There's no ambiguity behind it. There's no could they have died, could they have survived. I've chosen these 10 people intentionally because they definitely didn't die in the Scream franchise. First, let's look at Casey's father and Casey's mother at the beginning of Scream, played by David Booth and Carla Hartley. Now both of them thankfully are still alive, so it could still be the original actors that come and play Casey's mum and dad. But why would they be there? Well, Casey was the first known victim of Ghostface, not of Billy and Stu etc, because obviously what happened with Maureen Prescott, but with the first Ghostface killing on the first night with Steve and Casey, then those would be high profile characters to come back. And I don't mean high profile characters in the film, I mean really important characters because they saw their daughter hung from a tree. That would be terrible for them. Now we do have a psychiatrist in, or a therapist, whatever you want to call them, in the new Scream movie, so it could be that they live in New York now and they're seeing someone after 25 years because they still can't get over the trauma of their daughter dead. And that could be them, that could be their cameo. They're not going to be interwoven into the story, they're just a cameo piece in the film. So if anyone, that's 2 for 1. 2 characters that could easily return as just a little small cameo. Next up we've got Sheriff Burke, played by Joseph Whipp. Now he was in the first Scream movie, he was Dewey's deputy, or Dewey's sheriff I should say. We know that Dewey has died in Scream 5, so they would have a funeral for him etc. But maybe people want to pay their respects to Dewey, go to his grave and pay their respects. And I think he could be one of those characters that does that. I know that the movie's not going to be set in Woodsboro, but they could go back to Woodsboro for at least 1 or 2 scenes. And if you're going to do that, you might as well bring at least one character from the original setting in 1996, and I think Sheriff Burke would be a good addition to that. Next up we've got Joshua Jackson, who doesn't even have a name in Scream 2, but he's still there anyway, and the only reason I'm including him on the list is because he is a famous actor. He was massive back in the day, and he still is big today as well. And I think it would be fun if they're bringing back a cameo role and they're not going to have any major part in the story at all. I think it would be quite funny to see someone like Joshua Jackson appear for a cameo purpose, and not only just for a cameo purpose, to see if people are paying attention, because some people might not even know that Joshua Jackson was in Scream 2 because of the size of role that he had in the movie, and obviously doesn't have a name in the film either, so he's a forgettable character. But it would be fun just to see him again, even without a name again, which would be quite funny as well. But I know that Scream and all the directors behind Scream like to do things like that. It's sort of meta as well, so just bringing in a little small character like that could work. How about bringing back Joe, the only surviving cameraman from any of the Scream movies, played by Dwayne Martin. Now he again didn't die, he was the smart person, he decided enough's enough, I'm out of here, and he just left and he didn't die, which is quite cool. So I think it would be quite interesting to see him come back, because we still have Gail Weathers, she still reports the news, and I think it would be quite interesting to see her bump into him, not working together but working in a different news agency or TV broadcasting whatever, and she just bumps into him and says, "Oh Joe, nice to see you again." It would be quite nice to see someone like Joe come back just for that one small scene. It would be quite interesting. Next up we've got sorority sisters Murphy and Lois, played by Portia de Rossi and Rebecca Gayheart. Again, these are characters that are just throwaway characters that they were only in the movie for us to think, could they be the killers? But obviously they weren't. and they didn't die, so why not bring them back? They're round about the same age as Sidney Prescott. They look like they wanted to be big and famous, possibly. Maybe I'm stereotyping, but they could be living in New York as well. Maybe just bump into them at some point and they could give their story behind their survival of Ghostface. Even though they weren't under attack from Ghostface, they could still say, oh, we were at that college and Ghostface was running around killing people. We knew the Ghostface killer, Mickey. So having them in it, it would be a no-brainer as well, because they wouldn't need to be tied into the main story. We've got the most obvious one, which is Mark Kincaid, played by Patrick Dempsey. I personally think though that Dermot Mulroney has been brought in to take over that role, not as Mark Kincaid, but as a Mark Kincaid style character. Could he be the killer? Could he be the love interest of Gail Weathers? You never know. So I don't think Mark Kincaid will come back in this movie, but I still believe that Sidney may come back eventually. So if Sidney comes back, then I think maybe Patrick Dempsey should reprise his role as Mark Kincaid. And if he does reprise his role, it could be in a movie like Scream 6, maybe building us up to a potential return for Sidney Prescott in Scream 7. But I think having Mark there gives the fans hope that maybe we will still see Sidney in the future. Another obvious one would be Martha Meeks, played by Heather Matazzaro. I think though she wouldn't really be classed as a surprise return because she was in the previous movie. Her kids are still alive. However, because our kids are alive and they survived a brutal attack, then maybe we will see her again. But even if we do see her, she might not be considered the surprise cameo because she wouldn't be a surprise. Finally, we've got Mr. Loomis, played by C.W. Morgan. He did play Billy's dad in the first movie, and he was also in a cameo role in Scream 3. So I don't see any issues seeing him again as Billy Loomis's dad, because Billy does get spoken about in Scream 5. He will get spoken about in Scream 6. His own granddaughter, which is Sam, she's obviously going to be in it as well, and she probably wants to know more about her father and her dad's dad, etc. So I think that we will see him at some point. If we don't see him in this one, we might see him in Scream 7, but I think he's a good shout for just a small cameo. And that is it, guys. 10 characters that I think could potentially return in a small cameo in Scream 6. And if they don't appear in Scream 6, there's nothing to say that they won't appear in Scream 7, because that will be, even though it's the 7th movie, it will be that trilogy that Radio Silence are creating. But what do you think, guys? Do you think any of these 10 characters have a chance of returning in the next Scream movie as a cameo? And if you don't think so and you think it's someone else that is still confirmed to be alive, leave your examples down below. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.